Let's get right into it. Your company is probably spending a fortune, maybe millions, marketing its cutting-edge AI. You've got the slick website, the shiny press releases, all the big toxic conferences. But what if I told you that the people who really matter, the investors, the partners, the regulators, they're looking somewhere else entirely? There is a massive, and I mean massive, disconnect between how you talk about your AI and how it's actually being judged. And that gap, it can cost you big time.
So what we're breaking down here is based on a really deep, comprehensive 10-part research report from Virtualization Options LLC. Now, the full report is a serious deep dive. Chapter 1 kicks off with that reality gap we just talked about. Then it gets into the actual frameworks investors use. Chapter 3 is all about the OSNT revolution. That's using open source data. 4 is fascinating. It's about analyzing employee signals. 5 and 6 cover regulatory checks and deep technical dives. 7 looks at major failures, the cautionary tales. 8 and 9 are about fixing the problems and building real credibility, and Chapter 10 wraps it up with a clear roadmap. Now, of course, you know the drill. This is just a high-level overview. It's not legal, financial, or investment advice, and it comes with no warranty.
And this slide, this lays it all out perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got your traditional marketing playbook, the stuff you control. But honestly, the trust level there is pretty low these days. Now look at the right. This is the new playbook. This is where the real due diligence happens. We're talking unfiltered employee reviews, deep analysis of your public code, and what you're legally forced to say in filings. This is where they find the truth.
So what's the actual cost when there's a gap between your marketing and reality? Well, it's a staggering 35%. That is the average discount slapped on a company's valuation when an investor's digging uncovers that the AI governance just doesn't live up to the hype. We're not talking about a small adjustment here. This is a huge financial penalty for a lack of credibility.
The full report, as I said, has 10 chapters, but we've boiled it down into 5 key takeaways for you today. First, we're going to really unpack that perception versus reality gap. Then, we'll open up the toolbox and see what investors are actually using for due diligence. After that, we'll dig into how your claims get verified, learn from some pretty epic failures, and finally lay out a path to building credibility that's actually real and defensible.
All right, first up, the perception versus reality gap. This is all about getting a handle on the huge seismic shift in how your company is being evaluated. It's a whole new ballgame.
And you know, what's wild is how fast this all changed. I mean, think about it. Just a few years back, we were in the marketing-driven era. A great press release could seal the deal. But then, after some very public screw-ups, stakeholders got a lot smarter. They started demanding real technical proof. Then, they layered on open source intelligence, OSINT. Now, we're in a governance-first world, and we're heading straight for a future of holistic risk assessment where, trust me, every single thing is under the microscope.
So, this evolution brings us right to our next section, the Due Diligence Toolkit. This is the modern playbook. It's how savvy investors and partners look right past the marketing fluff to see what's really happening inside your organization.
And make no mistake, this is not just random guesswork. It's a highly structured, data-driven process. Analysts are using a matrix just like this to score your AI maturity. They're looking at everything from technical architecture to your talent and culture. And you see that data governance row? Notice how it's often weighted as critical? Each part is assessed using specific info sources, and each gets a risk score. It's a complete forensic exam of your AI operation.
So where are they getting all this info? They're using the Open Source Intelligence Stack, or OSINT. That means they're digging through your public code on GitHub. They're mining what your current and former employees are saying on Glassdoor and Blind. They're watching hiring patterns, monitoring social media, and checking everything against your regulatory filings. It gives them a complete 360-degree view that you can't control.
And sometimes, all it takes is one little nugget of OSINT to tell the whole story. Imagine an investor is doing their research, and they find this review from one of your employees on Blind. In just 6 words, this tells them you have a culture of governance theater. It means your policies are just for show. That is a massive, flashing red flag that basically cancels out everything your PR department says about responsible AI.
Which is the perfect lead-in to our third section, verifying your claims. This is where we go from sniffing out signals to demanding hard proof of your regulatory compliance and your actual technical muscle.
This all comes down to one simple question. Can you show your work? Can you produce the receipts? Stakeholders are going to ask for documents like these. They want to see your full AI system inventory, your risk assessments, your model cards, testing reports, even the minutes from your governance meetings. If you hesitate or you can't produce these on demand, your credibility just tanks.
And this quote from a VC's tech due diligence lead, it just says it all. The single biggest gap they find isn't in the fancy algorithm. It's the simple stuff. A total lack of monitoring and observability once a model is actually live. It's easy to say you have great AI. It's a whole lot harder to prove you can manage it in the real world. And that's where most companies completely fall apart. Okay, so let's look at what happens when these gaps turn into full-blown disasters. In Section 4, we're going to analyze some major failures to really understand the consequences and see the warning signs that everybody ignored.
A classic case study is that recruiting tool from a major tech company. The idea seemed great. Train an AI on 10 years of hiring data. The problem? Well, that data reflected a decade of their own biases, so the AI learned to be biased too. They tried to patch it, but the bias was baked in. In the end, they had to scrap the whole thing. It's a perfect, costly lesson in garbage in, garbage out.
And you know, the financial hit from these failures is always so much worse than what you see on the surface. This chart shows it clearly. The direct costs, like a fine from a regulator, that's just the tip of the iceberg. The total impact, when you factor in brand damage, lost business, customers leaving, is usually 3 to 5 times bigger. The long-term pain is what really kills you.
And when you study these disasters, you see the same mistakes over and over. A culture of speed over safety, that governance theater we talked about, technical teams trying to sound the alarm but they get ignored, and of course, sloppy testing for bias and huge gaps in production monitoring. This is basically a how-to-fail checklist for any leader. All right, enough doom and gloom. Let's talk about the fix. Our last section is all about building authentic credibility. This is the real actionable game plan for moving away from just spinning a story to actually proving you're excellent. The path to real credibility has to start with a brutally honest self-assessment. You've got to know where you actually are, not where your marketing team wishes you were. From there, you can prioritize the big fixes, invest in the right infrastructure, and build governance right into your day-to-day workflows. And notice, aligning your external communications is step 5. You build the substance first, and only then do you go out and talk about it. So what does success actually look like? Well, it looks like this. It's when your own team members say the ethics reviews are the real deal. It's when your leaders can actually have an intelligent conversation about the tech. It's a culture where people know they can raise a red flag without risking their career. These are the internal signals that build rock-solid external confidence.
So, we'll leave you with this one question to think about. In today's world of radical transparency, is your AI strategy a genuine asset that can actually stand up to scrutiny? Or is it just a liability, waiting to be discovered?